keep up with the fish and chips. They do have some good fish and chips, though.
Yeah, they do.
Actually, you know, that's funny that you bring up the food, because I was actually going to ask you if you have any go-to broke meals. Like if money is tight and you don't have a lot of time, what do you typically kind of rely on?
Dang. Probably spaghetti.
Oh, okay. Classic.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like there are some pretty standard broke meals like ramen and things like that, but I feel like if I'm trying to feed a lot of people for cheap,
Hmm.
quickly, then it's got to be spaghetti.
The tried and true.
Yeah.
For me, I mean, classic buttered toast, right? Can't go wrong with that. Brenda and I, we will tear up some quesadillas. Like if we're just too tired and it's like, all right, what do we got? We got some tortillas, we got some cheese. Let's make some quesadillas.
That's a good idea. That's good too.
Oh, another thing is nachos. Throw some chips on there, some black beans, sprinkle some of that same cheese that I would use for a quesadilla. I'm basically just repurposing the cheese, and then maybe
Yeah.
some like sriracha or hot sauce or whatever on top. Some like Baker's hot sauce packets.
You're repurposing those tortillas too in a way.
Yeah, yeah, basically. It's just like a different form of a quesadilla
Exactly.
with the addition of some black beans. That's just for to kind of like change things up a little bit, keep it
You
spicy.
got to have some vegetables in there somewhere.
Basically, like anything I can just quickly get from Staters or something really quick.
Or you can get a rotisserie chicken, some tortillas, some basic salsa or some like pico de gallo or something, and just make these little like chicken wraps.
Heck yeah. Gotta throw some cheese on there.
Yeah, that same cheese.
If it ain't cheesy, then we're not messing with it. Oh,
Andrew
you
would
know what?
disagree.
A little known fact, I don't think anyone from our audience knows about us yet, but we both used to work at Stater Brothers at some point.
Yes.
And I'm curious to see if maybe you also have some sort of experience to share, but I have this super embarrassing Staters moment that I'm going to share with the audience now.
Oh boy.
So I was a bagger, and that was my
A
very first
courtesy
job.
clerk. Fool.
Courtesy clerk. I think they changed the name at some point, but I don't remember.
No, apparently they still call it a courtesy clerk because I have a friend of a friend I know who is an accountant for Staters. And so apparently it's still courtesy clerk.
Okay. So I was doing the morning shift, which is actually pretty nice because it's slower paced.
All old people,
You
everything's,
deal with
yeah.
a few old customers or whatever. The only thing is they're kind of picky about how you bag their stuff. So it's usually double paper or like
Yeah,
paper in
exactly.
plastic
Yeah.
back then. Yeah, we're handing out plastic bags like no one's business. So I was doing that, and they wanted double paper, so I was doing that, and I loaded up some cans in it, but I think I may have put a little bit too much. You have to think about the customer as well. Like, these are elderly people? Are they really going to be able to lift this bag if I just stuff it full of cans? So you kind of have to
Mhm.
go a little bit lighter. I picked up the bag incorrectly or something, and so it ripped. It kind of like compromised the entire bag. So I'm like, God damn it! So I have to pull everything out, and then I bundle up the paper, right? And there's only, since it's slow, there's only a couple lanes open. The one that's like directly next to us that I'm facing was empty. It was vacant. So I was like, I'm just gonna throw the trash over there, and then when it dies down a little bit, or when I'm done bagging, I'll throw it away. And so I crumble it up, and I'm leaning around the customer, like I'm gonna, like just do like a little light toss or whatever. And the whole time, the husband is watching me, and I think the wife, she's talking to the cashier. So I was leaning around her, and I was gonna go throw it behind her back. And as soon as it left my hand, it like just expanded immediately. It like jolted towards her, and it literally bounced right off the side of her temple. And I was just like, "Oh my god, I am so sorry. I did not mean to do that." And she was just like in shock. She was like, "Oh." And the husband was just cracking up. Because he was watching me, and he was just like, no, like he backed me up. He was like, no, he was just trying to throw it away, and it like expanded out of his hand or whatever.
I was just imagining like expanding and like covering her whole face.
No, but it kind of expanded to the size of a volleyball.
Oh my god.
And the cashier just gave me this fucking death stare. She's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why would you do that?" I was just like, "No, it was an accident."
That is hilarious.
I was mortified. That was my first job, so I was just like, "Oh fuck," I'm gonna get in so much trouble.
I'm about to get fired. I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like yeah, it was my first real job. I had a one job before that was like a small little doing after school program at an elementary school. But this is like my first real job where, like I was getting like a corporate paycheck instead of like someone writing a check out of a checkbook and giving it to me and stuff. Um, and like we had to be like part of the union and
Yeah.
just like it was a real job, right? So since it's our first job, like we don't know what's going on, and we're just doing what we're told, right? And we're just trying to make that money and go home or whatever, and be adults without being adults. And
Working an entire week, I think I worked like 6 days in a row, and I almost made $200. And I was like, "Hell yeah, I'm swimming in cash!" Like that's a lot of money for a high
yeah,
schooler.
I know. I would spend so much of my money going to the hookah bar after work. But yeah, I mean, I feel like since it was my first job and like I didn't know how to be a working adult, I think I took a lot more shit than I should have. Like I should have stood up for myself, you know? Like there was this one time where one of the managers, and he was a dick. And he like it was Thanksgiving time and it was busy, and we had this, it was like a cardboard display like in the middle of, right next to the meat area. So
The meat counter.
it was the next to that because that's where, yeah, I guess that's where like like the turkeys and stuff like would be, right?
Hmm.
And so there was this cardboard display with ham glaze. Oh, so I guess it's close to hams. It was a cardboard display, but all of the jars were glass.
Oh
And so it's
shit!
Thanksgiving, it's crowded, there's people everywhere, there's carts everywhere, and so some idiot runs into the display and knocks over all the jars of glaze.
Fuck.
Yeah, and so there's broken glass and ham glaze all over the floor, and we didn't actually have anything to like pick that up. I'm over there with like wads of paper towels trying to pick up all this broken glass, and the
With your
glass is
hands.
cutting through the paper towels and cutting my hands. And the manager is literally standing over me like, hurry up, get it clean, get it out of the way." Like,
Damn.
yeah,
Not even no broom, nothing, huh?
no. All they did was like hand me a roll of paper towels and was like, "Get it clean," kind of thing. And I should have stood up for myself and been like, "Fuck no, like this is not right. Give me, a broom and a dustpan. Give me the spill kit, like something."
Yeah.
Um, and like I was like freaking out, like, "Oh my god, I need to do what he says."
Yeah,
And
and
so
you're
like I
you're
was
you're
down there on my
panicking.
hands and
Yeah.
knees trying to pick up this broken glass. Yeah. So I had a hand. Both my hands were covered in band aids after that,
Oh
and
my
I probably could
god.
have sued them and got a lot of money.
Wow. Did you get a raise?
No, of course not.
So yeah, shout out to Stater Brothers for paying for our mischievous ways in high
I know
school.
our high school age shenanigans.
All right. Should I get us started?
Take it away, sir.
How you doing, everybody? Welcome to Afflixionados Podcast, episode 39, available wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. Find us on YouTube at Afflixionados Podcast. If you enjoy our content, please consider giving us a like and or subscribe. Also, our merch store link can be found in the descriptions of our episodes. My name is Eric, and the other voice occupying your head this time is a proud mother of three, lab geek, comic nerd, my sister, chicken sandwich eater, and co-host Stephanie.
The extreme.
With the face. Here on Affliction House Podcast, we mainly talk about films that range from mind-numbing to mind-blowing. We also cover TV shows and other forms of media. Of course, we will be getting into spoilers here, and there will be only the healthiest amount of expletives tossed in. You have been warned. If you ain't ready, then get ready, because in this episode, we will be discussing the American natural disaster flick Twister, released in 1996, directed by Jan de Bont. And if you don't recognize the director's name initially, Jan de Bont, he was actually involved in quite a few cool films. At first, I had to kind of look it up because I was like, I don't know if I recognize this guy. But after looking it up, his directorial debut was Speed in 1994, and that was a big hit for him.
Well, shit.
And then he also was a producer on SLC Punk, Equilibrium, and Minority Report.
All good movies.
In the late 90s, they were all about disaster flicks. So I wanted to do like an honorable mention because there's just so many in a short span of time, and they were kind of just flooding all over the place. So we got Dante's Peak in 1997, Volcano also 1997, Deep
That
Impact
was the
1998. Which one?
well, I was gonna say the whole Dante's Peak volcano thing. Like, you know how sometimes you have the same movie that comes out at the same time.
I hate when they
That was
do
one of
that.
those situations.
I don't remember too well, but I'm sure Dante's Peak also had a bunch of idiotic moments. But I don't know. I always leaned more towards Dante's Peak rather than
Same,
Volcano.
same.
And then continuing the list, we got Deep Impact in 1998, Armageddon also 1998.
Oh my god.
But yeah, Twister was almost like a trendsetter here because, in a way, reignited this genre, the disaster flick genre, and it made it cool again.
Yeah, I totally agree. What was it? 1996. That movie? Yeah, 1996. I remember just being so. Like, I think we saw it in the theater, and I had no expectations going in. I mean, I knew it was about tornadoes, obviously, but just seeing the vastness of these funnels on the big screen was just so fascinating to me. Never want to be near one in real life, but I do enjoy it to this day, like watching tornado videos online. Or there's this one. There was a show about storm chasers on Disney. You know, they acquired all of the Nat Geo stuff.
Right.
So there was a storm chaser show on Disney. It was a Nat Geo show, and the reality of storm chasing, like there were a couple, I think it was like 4 episodes in the season, and 2 of them were about tornado chasing and the other 2 were about hurricane chasing.
Okay.
And tornado chasing seems to be in reality pretty dang boring. Like you're chasing, these funnel clouds or whatever, but then the tornado never actually happens. Twister is like the total opposite of that. Like as soon as there are funnel clouds, like, oh, there's a twister.
Mm-hmm. They were probably cutting off a lot of the middle boring parts. It's always like you
Yeah.
just jump from one to the next.
Well, I mean, the whole movie happens in a day and a half. They're chasing twister after twister in this horrible storm, and then the very next day is when that F5 happens, and that's the whole movie.
Mm. Yeah, they actually, I think they described it almost as like an epidemic. It was
I
unusual
think it
for
was like
this
a
area.
particularly bad storm, yeah. Um, the thing that I found the most interesting in this storm chasing show that I was watching, they actually have a Dorothy like device. So I don't know if Twister got that from real life or real life storm chasers got that from Twister, but it's real.
Oh yeah, no, I'm actually about to get into that right now.
Oh, cool.
So the movie it performed really well in the box office. It was the second highest grossing film of 1996, second only to ID4 or Independence
Which
Day.
we talked about before.
Oh yeah, we've done that one. Allegedly, the pitch for this movie didn't even begin with a script, but rather a proof of concept visual effects clip by Industrial Light and Magic. And the clip was entirely CGI. Check out how cool we can make this tornado look, right? And it featured a pickup truck driving towards a tornado with a tractor wheel snapping off and flying through the windshield. The studio saw that. They're like, hell yes, we're in. Let's make this a movie.
See, they get what I'm feeling.
And the National Severe Storms Laboratory in Norman, Oklahoma, worked closely with the production, consulting on the script that opted against going with originally what they were going to show was an impossible, huge ass tornado that would last like a day and a half. And instead, what they ended up going with was an outbreak of tornadoes that could strike at any place, anytime, with different magnitudes, which is what the movie is. Filming ran into some issues, a notable hurdle being the Oklahoma City bombing that occurred on April 19th, 1995.
Holy shit.
And that was the deadliest act of terrorism in U.S. history prior to 9/11.
Wow.
So filming was suspended during that time while the cast and crew worked on relief efforts.
That's pretty cool that they did that.
Yeah. So that was pretty wild.
Yeah.
I loved that for the movie, the concept of Dorothy, that's supposed to revolutionize tornado research, right? Dorothy is loosely based off of the real life research device Toto, or Totable Tornado Observatory, used by scientists during the 1980s and had a similar design to Dorothy in the film.
Oh, interesting.
And I thought it was cool because they both reference Wizard of Oz, which
I know.
featured a tornado.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, Toto was the dog, and then of course Dorothy was the main character of Wizard of Oz. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Anybody who doesn't knows that is not listening to this podcast.
True. There might be some youngsters out there. Principal photography was given a deadline so that Helen Hunt could return to film the fourth season of Mad About You. Series creator Paul Reiser agreed to delay the show's production for 2.5 weeks so Twister could finish filming with Helen. I was trying to figure out where I knew her from, and that's what it was. It was the TV show Mad About You. I don't think I've seen anything else with her in it.
Really? I mean, I'm sure there's like chick flicks or rom-coms or something that she's been in.
None that come to mind, at least not off the top of my head. So as we begin the movie, we got the prologue showing a young Jo, her parents, their dog, taking shelter from a rare F5 tornado. I was trying to figure out, like, what the hell is this, like, scale that they measure everything in throughout the movie. So in order to be categorized as an F5, wind speeds have to exceed 260 miles per hour, which is more than enough to cause what they mention on the Fujita scale as incredible damage, in quotes.
Just 260?
That's it? What do you think that feels like? Being in 260 mile per hour winds?
Well, I'm just imagining, like, you know, when it gets really windy here, like the wind gust gets up to, like, I don't know, 45 or something like that. And that's already kind of like pushing at you.
Mm-hmm.
So that times 5. Yeah, you're probably just flying around. I don't know. I mean, and they were, and you know, at the end of the movie, they're just like running through it like nothing. And every once in a while, they'll be like, and then someone has to pull them back or whatever. But that was
Right.
as bad as it got in the movie.
It was kind of bad for the actors because I believe they brought in like a jet engine or something and they're blowing that at them. And then there was a bunch of like real debris and dust and shit that was flying in their eyes. And so their eyes were getting all fucked up throughout the movie. But it's not like they can wear goggles or something.
They should have worn goggles. Like the whole movie, they're wearing like aviator goggles.
Aviator goggles. That would be smart, actually, if you're going to be in high winds.
I know.
Due to the unpredictable nature of tornadoes, Jo and her family are barely able to make it into their little underground bunker. Of course, you know, what comes with a solid underground bunker? A flimsy-ass door to close behind you. So this thing's already, like, fallen to pieces, and so the dad has to basically rush over there to hold the door shut.
No, he does not. First of all, this is the first instance where I was like, "Damn, that's dumb." Because this dude's over there trying to hold the door down, and he's like, "I can't hold it, I can't hold it, I can't hold it," and then he flies off with the door or whatever. And I'm like, and then Jo and her mom are down there, and the dog are down there in the shelter.
And they're fine.
Fine. So like, why didn't he just run down there, let the door go, and then just hunker down with his family?
That was the first thing that I told Brenda. I was just like, she was like freaking out. She's like, "Oh my god, the door's about to fly off." And I'm like, "So? Just go to the back of the bunker."
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be fine. Fuck that door.
He did not have to hold that damn door down. Dumbass.
Pops, he has a hell of a grip because he did not let go. That thing, he fucking flew off. Never to be seen again.
Never to be seen again.
I think it was assumed that he died, but I wasn't sure.
Well, yeah, I mean, they mention it later on that her dad died or whatever. And that, you know, she's still dealing with that trauma or whatever. But here's the interesting thing is that her mom is also never to be seen again.
That's true. Maybe she blamed the...
Yeah, I was thinking this is my headcanon right here, is that after that she was like, well, fuck this. I'm moving somewhere that doesn't have tornadoes. So she's in California or Florida. That's where Jo's mom lives.
If you're in Florida, you have to deal with like hurricanes instead. So it's like winds of a different kind.
Yeah, so maybe she's in California then. She's in Orange County, soaking up the beach with the dog. Same dog. Still alive.
I will say, this was a pretty traumatizing opening sequence for me as a kid.
You're like, I never want to be near a tornado.
I would actually avoid watching the movie because the beginning part was fucking scary. Like, I'll just be like, I'd be in the mood to watch it, but I'm just like, I also don't want to fast forward the beginning because then I'd feel like a bitch. So I'm just like, I'm just going to watch something else instead.
I feel like a bitch. So I'm just going to bitch out of the whole thing.
That was better for my ego to just pretend like, oh no, I would rather just watch something else. But yeah, it was pretty legit though. As a kid, I like the way that they just jump right into this terrifying tornado story.
I do, yeah. Yeah, we get our flashback, we get our trauma, and 27 years later in the present day, 1996.
We now have an adult Jo, played by Helen Hunt, of course,
who is still obsessed with tornadoes.
Now we see that she's the leader of an eccentric crew of passionate storm chasers as well.
Yes.
She's kind of found people like her that are just as crazy as she is. And one of which is Dusty, played by a young and talented Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I didn't even recognize him at first. Andrew was like, "You know who that is?" And I was like, "He looks familiar."
As soon as I saw him, I'm just like, dude, hell yes. And not to mention, he's like the best actor out of that entire crew, I feel like.
Yeah, I can probably agree with that one.
Acting circles around Helen Hunt, even.
Mm-hmm. I have to agree with that one too.
And then the other main protagonist is Bill, played by Bill Paxton.
I'd always find it funny when people play characters that share their name. I wonder if that was done on purpose. Like they can't, they're not good enough to be able to answer to a different name.
Damn.
Burn.
Although I feel like sometimes when you look at people, their names kind of fit them. Like I can't really see them with anything else. So I don't know if they already had that name ahead of time. Yeah, Bill plays Bill.
Bill plays Bill or Billy.
Shout out to Bill Paxton because Bill Paxton's the shit. I feel like I've enjoyed him in every movie he's in.
Who did I mistake him with when we did ID4? Bill Pullman.
It was Pullman. That's right. Cameron was cracking up for that.
I know. I was like, no, I mean Bill Pullman, not Bill Paxton.
Yeah, he was trying to talk shit on Bill Paxton. He was like, man, I hated him in Alien. I'm like, you're supposed to hate him in Alien.
But we love him in Twister, which is why we're here.
So he's a former storm chaser who essentially sold out and became a TV weatherman.
A weatherman,
you know?
yeah.
I think a lot of people kind of give him shit for that. Like, ooh, look at the fancy weatherman in his fancy red brand new Dodge Ram or whatever the fuck he was driving.
Yeah.
But yeah, he travels back to Oklahoma with his fiancee, Melissa, played by Jamie Gertz. In order to obtain Joe's signature on their divorce papers, he actually, has to come visit her, and everyone's all like, "Oh shit, you're back, you're back." He kept doing the whole like, "No, I'm not back," which in a lot of ways kind of remind me of John Wick. If you ever saw the first movie, everyone's just like, "Oh shit, you're back," and he's just like, "I'm not back," and then by the end of the movie, he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm back."
Yeah, he's definitely back. I love how he shows up and immediately everyone's like, "The Extreme." Apparently his nickname is The Extreme for no reason whatsoever. They never fully explain that.
He's just that damn good.
I wonder how realistic, like I wonder if there are people out there that can just like look at the clouds and be like, that shit's gonna shift.
Yeah, he probably looks up and he's like, "That shit's gonna shit."
Shift.
That's what I thought you were gonna say for a second.
Yeah, but I mean, I wonder how accurate that is. Like if there are people that can read the clouds that well, or if that's totally like just a movie gag.
I don't know. I feel like if you understand the way that storms work and all that stuff, and I mean, you're kind of getting like a visual. You've seen like what everything always looks like before a tornado starts to form. Probably just going off of a lot of that, prior knowledge.
Yeah. And I mean, I get that. Like, I mean, even in my career, like I can tell things like just by looking at someone's blood. I can be like, oh, they're on their way out.
Oof, starts looking black.
Pretty much, yeah. No, I mean talking about. I mean, when you spin it down, and even the serum looks black. Oof.
Oh. So not long after Bill shows up and he's like confronting Joe and he's trying to get her to sign the papers, and she finds out, oh, he's engaged to get married.
She's like, yeah, I did sign it. And then she
I signed it, right?
He's like, wait. There's this one signature you still need to sign right here.
Oh, hey, since you're here, check out what we got. And she busts out Dorothy, which is what the little device that we were talking about earlier. It's cool because they don't exactly show you what the hell Dorothy is yet, but it's just some sort of like metal drum, and it has the picture of Dorothy from Wizard of Oz on it. Bill's like, he's like fucking awestruck, right? He's just like, oh my god,
like,
it's real. Apparently it was this prototype that he and Joe kind of conceptualized, and she realized that concept and into this final product. And so he's just like, holy fuck, does it work? And she's like, we're about to find out.
I wonder what drove him, because they don't go into this either. Like, what drove him to leave? Especially when they were in the middle of a project like that, obviously.
You wonder if maybe did things get like dicey in their relationship? In their line of work, it's just like it's difficult to put any effort into the relationship.
Seemed like they were doing all right in the movie. They weren't even together, and they seemed pretty together, working well together, very fluid, very cohesive, partnership, it seemed.
I wonder if maybe them trying to come up with the design for Dorothy, maybe that was possibly like maybe they had like a clash of ideas or something.
That's true. They could have been. They probably could have argued over that a lot.
There's this storm that's developing, and so the crew is like packing the ship and like, all right, let's go. Let's see if we can get Dorothy to fly. Melissa's like, oh, are you gonna join them? And he's like, nah, this is fine. I'm past that. Those are my old days. But then he forgets that she still hasn't signed the divorce papers. So he's like, fuck, let's go chase after them. And after they're done, we'll have her sign. Then we're out of here, really quick. No big deal. And then we're introduced to the rival group of storm chasers. They're a little bit more, I don't know, like high techy, and because they have more funding, they have more advanced equipment.
It seems like they've sold out.
It's like they sold out in a way that they can still continue to do what they love to do.
Yeah, I wonder what was so selling out about it. They were all doing the same things together. It's just that Jonas's crew had more tech and stuff. So like,
The way I see it is that they essentially paid to win. Like instead of crawling and clawing their way to where they are now, someone else just came in, like handed them a bunch of cash, and then now they're like on the same level as them. I think that's why it's kind of a slap in the
yeah,
face
it's
to
like
them.
doing it for the money, not for the science.
The character of Jonas, played by Carrie Elwes. Elves?
I'm not even gonna try.
I always remember him from Liar Liar. He's like, "You're scared of the claw. You're scared of the claw." I always remember I was that guy.
I did not realize that was him. Robin Hood Men in Tights.
Yeah. I mean, that's a popular one. I also enjoyed that they had this all black fleet that was kind of making them seem menacing every time they showed up. They have these like murdered out vans and jeeps and stuff. Apparently, he's also a colleague of Joe and Bill because it seems like they kind of go way back. I don't know how far back they go, but something about him that just makes him really detestable, And this is kind of cemented when it shows that he kind of stole the concept of Dorothy and he's bragging about it as his own device to the public.
Yeah, I definitely get the feeling that they were used to be on the team together, and then he left them to sell out.
Needless to say, when Bill sees that fake ass Dorothy concept, he was fucking livid. There was a camera crew and everything, so he couldn't really do everything he wanted to do.
Man, I don't think he cared about the camera crew. It was only because everyone held him back.
We never actually get to see that device get deployed, huh? I was actually curious to see.
No, they never get that shit deployed.
Not even close.
Because they never get in front of the tornado.
I guess it's kind of moot.
I mean, I'm sure theirs wouldn't have flown either. I mean, theirs were like little cube shapes.
Oh, that's right.
Balls and yeah, so like, how's that gonna get up in the air? How are they gonna put little propellers on that if they even got far enough to figure that out? Which they didn't.
Exactly.
Stupid Jonas.
So I almost feel like in order to stick it to Jonas, that's what motivates Bill to stick around a little bit longer.
Yeah, Joe's like, yeah, I want to, and he wants to like, yeah, pretty much stick it to Jonas and like, okay, I'm gonna be with you for one day. We'll get this thing going. We'll get her flying, and then I'm gonna leave again.
And then I'm out of here.
Yeah, he's the extreme.
As Dusty kept saying. He's kind of the cheerleader of the crew because there's always that like really outgoing person, and they're always the one that's just like like trying to get everyone all hyped up and everything. First one to introduce Melissa to the crew and kind of invite her in and show her around and everything.
And she's cute. I mean, I feel bad for her because she's very cute. I know she's supposed to be, the Joe's competition or whatever, but
kind of the foil in a way.
Yeah, she's very cute, I think, and she's very nice. She never does anything like malicious or like anything to go against anybody.
Yeah,
she's just not into the this extreme sport of storm chasing, and she's so nice.
Was there any point in the movie where you're like, he should just be with Melissa instead of Joe?
The whole time.
You didn't like Joe at all?
No, it's not that I don't like Joe. It's just that, well, I guess she kind of represents the normal life, the calm life. The house in the suburbs with a couple of kids and a dog or whatever, get a Tesla, I don't know.
Melissa?
Yeah, that, I guess that's more of the life that I'm attracted to. And so I was like, yeah, he should have just gone with Melissa, but of course, that's not the point in this movie.
Yeah, I feel like what they were trying to portray with the Melissa character was that the audience is going into this movie like, hell yeah, let's go fucking see some tornadoes and shit, And you have this person that's like really She's just like kind of complaining a lot, and this definitely is not her line of work. I think you're supposed to be getting annoyed by her, like, dude, shut the hell up. Why even here? But the thing is, like, she's annoying because this isn't her wheelhouse, you know, this isn't what she normally does.
I don't know. I never really found her annoying.
I think you're
But I used to
supposed
find her
to.
annoying. Yeah, I think you're
Yeah.
supposed to. Yeah, I mean, but maybe because I related more to her than anybody else. Like I was like, "Aw, poor Melissa," you know.
I think because now you can empathize with her, right? Like, I would be fucking scared shitless too.
Exactly. Like at first, I would have been like, "Okay, this is fascinating. I'm going to come along." And then, once you get into it, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a tornado, I'm like, "Fuck this! I want to go home. Fuck this!"
Oh, hell yeah. Especially if you get knocked around by a couple tornadoes. Hell no.
Yeah,
Hell no. We got cows.
we got sisters.
The tornado touches down, and both crews, the protagonist and the antagonist, they're rushing off to go intercept it. And Jonas, he seems to have like all the money and the high tech gadgets and everything, but Bill is the one that seems to be the X factor for the protagonist. He has something that their money can't buy. He has the intuition. The intuition can't be fabricated.
Yeah.
He was able to sense that the tornado is coming before it touched down, and that kind of shows as he's like studying the dirt, you know, looking at the sky and
It's
everything.
so interesting because even though Joe is kind of the leader of the crew, and obviously she has skill of her own, it
Mhm.
seems like Bill's skill surpasses that so much because he has this intuition that nobody else has.
Mm.
Nobody else has in that crew, in either crew.
I don't necessarily think that makes Bill like the just a natural leader or anything.
But it does
Maybe
make him extreme.
extremely valuable to the team.
Yeah.
Maybe she's the one that's like more organized or something. Maybe he's a little bit more erratic, but the thing is he's good at what he does.
Yeah. And they're both willing to go in there and basically get eaten up by tornadoes multiple times a day.
They're usually the ones that are facing the tornadoes head on, right? Everyone else kind of
Yeah.
hangs back.
While everyone else kind of, yeah, exactly, hangs back and gathers the data.
This is one of the scenes in the movie I remember watching. I was just like, "What the fuck is going on here?" So Joe was pressuring Bill to stop being a weenie and drive off the road, right? So he's like, "All right," and he finally does. But then when he does, the truck gets trapped in the ditch,
Yeah.
and then Joe is like yelling at him to get out of the ditch, and I'm like, "You just told him to get into it. What the fuck?"
Well, I think she was just telling him to get off the road and go into the field, but then he got stuck in a ditch. I don't think she was telling him to get in the ditch. She was just telling him to go off road.
Did she not see that there's this giant ass ditch next to the road?
Apparently not.
That was a little frustrating to watch. I think it was supposed to be frustrating. It was kind of frantic, and I think you're supposed to kind of be on the edge of your seat, like, oh shit, what's about to happen? They can't get out of the ditch, so they just kind of like drive it into this little wooden bridge, and they don't even have enough time to like prepare Dorothy one. So they just get out of the truck and like take shelter under the bridge, passes over them or whatever. What was kind of weird is that Joe, she almost gets in like this little trance, like she blacks out, tries to like crawl
Goes towards.
towards the tornado, right? And so Bill's
Yeah,
like,
she's
"The
like, I
fuck
want
are
to
you
see it.
doing?"
I want to see it. She does that several times.
Drawn to it like a moth to a flame.
Yeah. So weird.
I like the fact that there's a little bit of dark humor here because after the tornado dissipates, whatever, and they crawl out from under the bridge, um, you kind of forget about the fact that the truck's not there. Joe's like, "Bill, where's my truck?" And then you see that shit fall right in front of Melissa, and she's like, "Oh fuck!" And she almost runs into it. I thought that was hilarious.
But she swerved around it, and everyone was all impressed how she was able to swerve around it. And she was like, "No, that was not cool." Poor Melissa.
That was extreme. After this tornado dissipates, another one is starting to develop. So they're like, okay, well, Dorothy 1's trashed. The truck literally fell on top of Dorothy upside down. So that thing is fucked. They have to try to see if they can go chase it with another vehicle. Joe's kind of hinting, right?
That's a nice truck.
Hell no. Don't even think about it. The next scene actually shows that they took the little camper shell off and they're driving with like a new Dorothy in the back.
Loser.
It was a nice truck though. I will admit.
Joe still got him wrapped around her finger.
Dang.
Once they were in the truck together, and you can see the way they flowed together and stuff.
Mm.
I'm like, oh
Spending more
yeah, they're
time
still
with
fucking
each
right.
other. Yeah.
Yeah. And poor Melissa's in the back taking her therapy calls.
It seemed like she was pretty well off too, because I mean she had that nice white outfit on and everything, and she had a cell phone. It's always the cool one where it's like you flip down that little like shield that covers the buttons and you pull out the antenna. I thought those were so awesome back in the day.
I know anything that flipped was cool, and I still think that obviously since I have a flip phone now.
That's true. At that time, literally the only people you would ever see with a cell phone were doctors or lawyers.
Yeah,
And so I always had this thought that, like, man, I'm never going to have a cell phone because I don't ever aspire to be any of those. And here we are.
here we are. Everyone has a calculator in their pocket, just like all the '90s teachers said you would never do.
Right, exactly.
Surprise, motherfucker.
Surprise, motherfucker. Dude, that scene's still crazy. I saw that not too long ago. I think it was on Instagram. I love Dokes, man. Dokes is such a cool character.
I know.
If you've never seen Dexter, it's a
I have.
pretty good show. I wouldn't say it's not as awesomely written as, like, let's say Breaking Bad, but
That's all I was gonna
it
say.
has some good moments.
Oh yeah, it was a good show. It was entertaining. Up until the end. Haha. That last season was pretty whack.
I felt that way about Breaking Bad towards the end. I'm like, okay, after they kind of overcome this particular antagonist, I felt like the show just kind of fell off for me. It just became
Mm,
significantly less interesting. And I think you know what I'm talking about.
yeah, I think so. He's a good actor though.
He was, yeah.
Yeah.
Jonas's team is already en route to the intensifying F2, and this was kind of interesting because Bill and company, you know, they're rolling up behind Jonas's team, and they're kind of riding side by side or whatever, chasing it together. But then Bill takes a look at it, and again, this is where he uses his instincts, right? So he kind of sees that as like, I think that tornado is going to shift, and so Joe, you know, reassures. He's like, yeah, I think you're right. They hang back and take like a detour. Jonas is like, whatever, you know, and they just keep on rolling. And sure enough, the tornado shifts, and so now the protagonists are closer to a tornado instead of Jonas. So now they have to play catch up.
The interesting thing is like the first tornado, they're like, oh, Jonas, are we gonna follow them? And he's like, yeah, let's follow him. And the second time, he's like, nah, let's not follow him.
Mm.
Like he doesn't want to always look like he's just riding on their coattails. I guess he really is.
Because he's always just studying this like map or whatever. He's never really like looking at the storm.
He has this team of people like on the other end of the phone or whatever, looking at a bunch of monitors, just telling them what to do and where to go. And
Yeah, he basically has like a whole NASA crew working for him or working in
yeah,
tandem with him. It's just like there's a lot of technology involved on their side, but at times like this, it shows that it's like, hey, you got to be quick on your feet, and you got to make these important decisions. He's not willing to take any of those risks unless the computers tell him otherwise. And this is also, I mean, throughout the movie, I felt like there were some strange editing decisions, but this is one of the earliest ones I remember seeing in the film where I'm like, that was kind of weird how they did that, how they kind of like cut and piece this together. So they're chasing this F2, right? They're like driving alongside it. And then next thing you know, they're just focused on two water spouts. And that original tornado just kind of like fucks off somewhere.
I think that was the original tornado somehow. I don't because I think maybe because it was on the left, right?
Yeah, that's what I didn't quite get about it. Was like because the way that they edited it, it didn't flow smoothly into it. It almost felt like you had this big tornado, and then now you got two water spouts all of a sudden.
Yeah, and then even the one on the left split into sisters, and then the one on the right side of the bridge, that one kind of disappeared. So yeah, it was kind of that one was kind of all over the place. But I assumed that the one that they were chasing went into the water at some point.
Yeah, it seemed like they just kind of like jumped a few a few scenes right there. And while driving through the water-filled fields, Bill's truck gets tossed around by the two water spouts. And it's funny because Bill, Joe, and Melissa, they're unharmed physically, but Melissa was fucking traumatized mentally.
Yeah, she was like, no.
The crew decide to take a break and they go and visit Joe's beloved aunt, Meg.
Yeah, they realize they're nearby, and at first Joe's like, no, we're not going to stop there, but then she gives in and she's like, all right, we can stop there.
Right. So I felt kind of bad for Meg because all these people are showing up unannounced and they're just expecting to be fed steak and eggs or whatever you got, whatever's easy, that's fine. They're like, no, steak and eggs, steak and eggs.
It seemed like she was cool with it.
I think she wants to be a good host and everything, but you got like fucking, what, like 10 adults roll up, eat all your food, shit in your toilet, and then leave. And take showers as well.
Yeah, no, I don't think it was like that at all because when you have someone that you love, especially when it's like a kid or like a niece or whatever, in this case, and then also, her you love her their entire crew too. because obviously they all knew each other and they all loved each other and stuff. Like you're, and then you haven't seen them in a while. I don't think she was upset that they came by.
It's nice to have a homey place that you can hang out at every now and then, right? And it, this seems like they're all tight knit crew. They're like a little family amongst themselves. But is anyone pitching in for the bill?
Well, she mentioned somewhere in there that that was her own cow. So yeah, I think it's probably a lot cheaper when it's your own cow.
Meg and Bill, they seem to have a good rapport with each other.
Yeah,
And I think Meg even suggests to Joe that Bill still loves her.
yeah, definitely.
And I feel like we even get hints throughout the movie that Joe still loves Bill. Like it's just like little subtle things.
Yeah, it seems like he left her kind of thing.
Mm,
And she's acting like it was no big deal or whatever, but I think it was a thing. I think she's still, yeah. One hint is that she didn't fully sign the papers.
true. That's definitely a big hint. Playing it up like, oh, I kept forgetting, or I didn't have time, or like,
Yeah.
oh, where'd that extra page come from?
Or I did, yeah, I did sign it. Here it is. Oh, but this page I didn't sign. Oops.
Hmm. Oh, I don't have a pen. Sorry. Now I'm starting to think it could have just been her obsession. Maybe he wanted her to invest more and put more effort into the relationship, but maybe she was just too focused on the work, and that wasn't going to
Hmm.
work for him. Because when she gets in the zone, she blacks out, and that's all she thinks about, and that's all
Yeah.
she cares about.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, she gets a little obsessive. Like when the one gets knocked over, and she's like, help me put it back together," and
Oh yeah,
he's
she's
like,
willing to die
no.
at any moment. Another thing I noticed is that every time we come across a new tornado, I feel like they get bigger and bigger.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do.
Because this next one that's developing is an F3. So we're stepping our game up a little bit. This is while they're still at Meg's house. So, they'll feel bad and they're like, sorry to eat and run, but, we got to go chase some tornadoes.
At
Meg
least they got
totally
some showers.
understands. Yeah, a couple of them got some showers in, and I think they also got some food to go. I think she quickly wrapped it up in some
Yeah, she
tinfoil and was
packed
like,
up
here
a
you go.
bag for Dusty. She was like, "This is for you."
Just for Dusty. Damn.
Yeah.
Favoritism. I hate Meg now. I'm just kidding. He might be the one that maybe a lot of people overlook. Like they don't really take him seriously because he's always joking around. But it seems like
Yeah.
he's pretty vital to the crew. Like he's kind of the glue that holds everyone together.
What exactly does he do though?
What does everyone do? They all drive in like their own vehicles, and so it looks all like mismatched. You got this whole motley crew
I
of
know.
people, right?
Well, it seemed like the guy that they called Rabbit was their navigator.
Wait, which one was Rabbit? I'm trying to think. Was he the
The
guy with
one
the
that was
flat top?
navigating them. No. It was the
Oh no,
one with
no,
the
no.
flat.
He had like a hat on or something, huh?
Yeah.
Man, that must be such a stressful job. They're taking these random ass streets, and so he's all like, well, I don't know what the hell this road is. This road isn't even on the map. It's just a dirt road that someone made like a month
Yeah.
ago, and always constantly changing directions.
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? They depend on him.
What does it say? Rabbit is good, rabbit is wise.
Yeah, that's what he said.
And yet there's like moments where they're like driving through a cornfield and they're like, where the hell does this thing go? Where's the road? And he's like, what road? The road you're telling us to go to. He's like, oh, that road. It should be here somewhere.
Yeah.
As good as he is, I don't know how good he actually is.
Well, I think he's pretty good, but he's not perfect.
They eventually get up to the F3 and they're trying to deploy Dorothy 2. So this is where Bill's like in the bed of the truck getting it prepped, right?
Yeah. The entire time they're like, "Oh, I see it. They see it in the monitors. Like they see it. They see it. They're like, it's right there. It's right there." But then there's
On their
nothing.
Doppler. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, "Damn, that's scary. It could be anywhere. It could come down anywhere. Where is it? It's like a ghost tornado."
That's what they're thinking too. They're just like, well, I don't see it. And almost like study the clouds. And they're just like, okay, I think it's going to be right over this hill. But it's wild that the monitors can see it before it even forms, before it even takes
Well,
shape.
yeah. I guess they can see the rotations in the clouds that you can't see with the naked eye and stuff.
Mm-hmm. This is dangerous too because Bill's in the bed of the truck. There's like hail coming down. There's twigs, leaves. There's tricycles flying at him. There's all kinds of shit.
Yeah, he has to dodge all that stuff.
Yeah, he almost gets his eye poked out. I feel like the actor Bill Paxton, he turned to go face I don't know, I guess like towards a tornado, and this branch almost like spears him right in the face.
Seriously.
But like I said, their eyes were getting fucked up throughout the movie. I think they said that there were some sort of material that they're using for the dust. It was like scratching their eyeballs. And so when they were done filming at the end of the day, like I can't see right now, you know? And I think the crew was thinking that they're exaggerating, but they had to bring in some doctors and it was like, yeah, they need to take a break. And so they had to give them like protective eyewear.
Wow,
It was getting pretty bad.
that's nuts. I feel like we're going through like every tornado scenario, trying to cram every tornado scenario possible into this movie, you know?
Oh, of course. Because I don't think they were intending on having any sequels. I think they wanted to just go all out and just have fun with the script.
Of course, I enjoyed it. We all know I enjoyed it. I made that very clear. And am I excited for the sequel? Hell yeah.
I am too. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, Bill almost gets his eye gouged out by the little branch. So then she fucking just slams on her brake without even letting Bill know. So Bill smashes his
I
face
know
into
that
the
Bill
back of the truck.
smashes. Yeah, poor Bill.
I thought maybe he would have been even concussed a little bit. But no, they didn't really play that up. So now we get to honestly, shit's just kinda hitting the fan. Power line actually knocks down and smashes Dorothy too. So I think at this point Bill's just like, you know what, this ain't working. Let's just get
Yeah,
out
we're
of here.
done. Yeah. The tornado has already like come down and broken up and come down a couple of times.
Mm-hmm.
Super red. They don't know where it's going to come down again. They're afraid it's going to come down right on top of them. They're really pushing it. It's kind of scary.
Yeah.
Those clouds are black,
Mm-hmm.
which is also pretty scary.
And the thing is, like, Joe's like having an emotional breakdown. Like, she's like flipping the fuck out, and Bill's just like, let's live to see another day.
Yeah.
No, she's not having it though. Every tornado is a hill that she's willing to die on.
Mm-hmm. You need to stop living in the past and look at what's in front of you or whatever.
And what's
And she's
that?
like, what's that? Me, Joe. All the while, Melissa's hearing this conversation over the radio.
No day but today. Oh wait, wrong movie.
No day but today. Yeah, so she's starting to see that Joe's it and there's no competing with her.
Yeah, Melissa's kind of overhearing this from afar because she's hearing the conversation through the
Through
CB
the
radio.
walkie-talkie, yeah.
This is a strange way of Melissa to eavesdrop on the conversation. I thought it was a bit lame because no one was actually using the radio microphone for one, and then they were about 15 feet in front of the truck. That would have been difficult to pick up the audio as well.
Wasn't she still wearing that thing? Like, wasn't she still wearing like the wire and stuff?
It kept zooming in on the radio in the truck, so I thought that's where the audio was being fed
Oh,
through.
maybe.
But then it was also windy as hell, so you can't pick anything up.
Right. And it was all getting picked up clear as day.
That was a hell of a radio that they were using.
Yeah. For the sake of the movie, I guess.
It's noise canceling.
Suspend disbelief here a little bit.
I did feel bad for Melissa right here, even though you're supposed to want Joe and Bill to get together.
See? She's just too cute.
Didn't do it really anything wrong in the movie. You know, she's
Yeah.
not a bad guy or anything like that.
Yeah, she's not like actively trying to be a competition. She's just trying to be there. She's just there. She's not even trying to be there. She's just there.
More than anything, she's just ignorant of what's going on. I don't even think she realizes until that moment that like Joe and Bill are growing closer together. The more time they spend
Yeah.
with each other, the closer they get.
Yeah, exactly. So they're at a what little motel that has like a drive-in right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Melissa's in there kind of contemplating their relationship, and people are watching The Shining. That's cool, I guess.
Oh, at the drive-in, yeah, they're getting their vehicles repaired.
So it's like a garage slash drive-in slash motel. What is this place? Truck stop? I don't know.
Honestly, that's kind of how small towns are. You kind of just have like one shop for everything, a one-stop
I
shop.
guess. Yeah, so I was thinking, like, I remember watching this scene, so, like, Melissa's contemplating their relationship. Joe finally decides, like, oh, I'm going to let him go, and she signs the papers. And at this point, for a little bit there, Bill lost both his women.
He was free.
Yeah, if you call it that. He was alone.
Almost kind of having his cake and eating it too until it was all taken away from him.
I know.
But I felt like Joe only signed it because she's been kicking the can down the road. She just kind of wanted to finally like be an adult and was like, okay, if you love someone, you gotta let him go.
Yeah, pretty much.
No matter how painful that's gonna be.
I'm gonna stop living in the past. So she signs the papers, and all of a sudden there's some ominous music, and she starts looking at in the distance, and the wind starts blowing, the TV stopped working, and Melissa starts looking out the window, and everyone just starts looking off into the distance, all zoned out.
You can't really see the sky at all. The sky looks
Yeah,
black as fuck. And while they were kind of all dealing with their own personal problems, the storm was like getting closer and closer to them, and the tornado basically forms right by them.
yeah, and it's huge.
Yeah, this one I think is even bigger. This one might be an F4, right?
Yeah, this one is an F4.
This was pretty cool because, as you were saying, there was a drive-in and it was showing The Shining. They matched up the scenes with the tornado. So as the tornado was like ripping through the town and the drive-in and everything, it was on a part, like a tense part in the movie. You have like two villains kind of like emerging at the same time, right? And I heard that the director, Jan de Bont, was a major Stanley Kubrick fan and wanted to pay homage to him by showing bits of The Shining in this movie.
Oh, I figured it had something to do with that.
It's kind of weird that you're watching a movie within a movie, but
I know, right?
it's kind of cool when they do stuff like that.
Yeah. So everybody runs. Like everybody get underground. This tornadoes come in and ripping through everything. And in the garage, there's the pit that I guess cars drive over, and then they get underneath and work on the cars.
Mm. Oh, really, really quick before we get into the pit, did you also notice that as the tornado ripped up the drive-in, the movie was still being projected, but it was like on the tornado now?
Yeah.
I thought that was a cool touch.
Yeah.
Wanted to touch on that really quick because apparently the crew wanted to incorporate some sort of scene like that where they were projecting onto the actual tornado and they were trying to figure out how to get that to work.
That's crazy.
So shout out to that.
Yeah. Good job, guys. Yeah. So then they're all in the pit in the garage. I kid you not. Everything. I was like everything. And this is another one of the sections where I was like, that was dumb. Everything was just aiming at the pit. And so like the sign fell off and it fell right into the pit. A car flew through the wall and landed right in the pit. Something else fell and was like aimed at the pit, and like things are flying through just everything was like aimed right at the pit. And I was like, what in the world?
They would have been fine if they were just outside of it, but for whatever reason,
everything
everything just wanted to go
the
into the pit. Someone gets their head sliced
Yeah,
during this
one of the
whole
crew
ordeal.
members. I don't remember which one it is,
The guy
but
with the glasses,
he's like
the older
standing
guy.
up. Yeah, he's all mesmerized by the tornado or something, and a hubcap flies through the air and bonks him in the head, and he's all like in shock from it. Just like,
Sit your old ass down.
right?
Honestly,
But
I don't know who that guy was, but that character bugged me. I don't know. He was kind of snarky, but like not in a charismatic way. I'm just like, who the fuck is this guy? He doesn't do
he's just
anything.
weird.
Yeah,
Was he one of the drivers
I think so. Yeah, but again, like, what does he contribute to the team?
driving?
He's just tagging along, extra hand. He just helps move equipment around. I guess. I don't know.
I guess, yeah. But after that, Melissa's like, "Yeah, I'm done."
Aw,
After experiencing yet another tornado, being scared out of her mind,
y'all are crazy.
yeah, she's like, "I'm not staying. I'm going home. We're done. You go to Joe."
She ends it amicably. She's like, listen, no hard feelings. It's just, I think you and Joe are meant to be together,
Yeah,
and
she's like, "I'm not even upset."
you should go with her. Yeah, you
Yeah,
should go to
she
her.
needs you. So that ends. And then right after that, they realize, oh, the tornado is heading straight towards Meg's house,
Uh-oh.
and they need to get there now. So everyone piles into the vehicles, fixed or not, and they head straight there to find that the tornado has already destroyed the whole town.
Oh, man.
They get to Meg's house, is barely standing. This was a scary part because I feel like for me, this is one of the most scary parts. Like, this is probably a very real scenario that happens all the time.
Probably, yeah.
Oftentimes does not end as well as it did in this case,
Dude, she got fucking lucky because it's like she had shit on top of her, but luckily it was just a bookcase. But like the house was already on its last legs and it could have caved in on her at any second.
If they weren't there and nobody was there, I mean, if they hadn't been there earlier that day, if they didn't have her in their minds, they didn't go straight there and save her, she would have been dead.
Oh, totally. There was like an extra 10 minutes.
Yeah, because nobody else was there looking for her or anybody really. There was no rescue crew there yet, and so
No.
she would definitely would have been gone if they weren't there. They saved her
That
life.
sucks for the paramedics and stuff like that because it's like when you're getting all these calls after a tornado, it's like, which one do you address first?
I know, and you can only do so much. Like, you're probably not going to be able to get to everybody, and people are going to die.
And it's like, do you have time to go digging through rubble looking for people, or should you just help the people that you can actually see?
Yeah, that's hard.
Man, I can imagine.
I think if it was me, I would definitely go digging because the people you can see are okay, but the people that you have to dig for are the ones in danger.
Like you said, the team gets there, they're able to locate Meg under all the rubble and all that stuff. But what helped them find her was the help of her good boy,
The
Mose,
dog,
the golden
yeah.
retriever.
Oh, good most. Yeah, definitely one of the things. Once they finally get Aunt Meg out, and she's like, "I'm fine, I'm fine," and I think she's experiencing a little PTSD at this moment because the same thing that took her dad almost took her aunt. Obviously, she's very very close with this aunt, and so she has like little tears coming out, and they're talking, and Meg's explaining like, "Oh, we had no warning. By the time the alarms went off, it was basically on top of us."
Yeah.
And she's like, "You need to fix this. I know you can." And Joe's like, "I don't know how." And Meg's like, "I think you do."
You're on the brink of it.
Hmm.
She believes in her. And that's nice. Like, she always knew that she was destined for great things.
Yeah. So interesting thing is that something we didn't mention is that Meg's yard is decked out in all kinds of weather vanes. As Joe's looking at these after having that little talk with Meg, she realizes what Dorothy is missing, why it wasn't flying.
Mm-hmm.
So they collect every aluminum can they can and some tools and some tape or whatever, and then they add little propellers to each of the sensors
Giving them wings.
in the big metal drum that is Dorothy, giving them their Red Bull wings. Sometimes literally.
Honestly, I when I looked at her yard, I was just like, man, this is a death trap.
Right? Like all that stuff's gonna flying through the house.
A lot of it could be useful. She had like little wind chimes and stuff like that, but also a lot of it just seemed like it was just artistic.
And it looks like she's the one who makes them.
Oh, maybe it's a hobby. Yeah, that could be cool.
I think that was implied is that she was the one that makes them. I could be wrong though.
Another thing that's also mentioned at this time is that the National Severe Storms Laboratory forecasts a potentially record breaking tornado for the next day. They're saying that this ain't even over. Like, it's going to get worse before it gets better. And they just got done seeing an F4, so they're like, tomorrow's going to be even worse.
Right.
Are they potentially going to see an F5? We'll find out soon enough. So now we make it to the final day.
Ooh, here we go.
Sure enough, a massive mile wide F5 tornado that is going to be
Mile.
forming.
It did not look quite a mile wide, to be honest, but it was big.
Maybe near mile wide.
Yeah, this is basically, I think, their one chance of
The final shot.
their final shot, and they have two Dorothys left.
Normal instincts would be like, as things get worse, all right, we're out of here. But I feel like they get more drawn to the tornado the worse it gets.
Yeah, it just seems like it's going up. Like there was a 2, and then there's a 3, and then there's a 4, and now there's going to be a 5.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Jonas's team is there. Everyone's driving alongside this giant thing. It just kind of cuts straight from like, oh, they get the Dorothys ready. They pour all the little winged sensors into it, and then suddenly they're just kind of driving alongside this tornado that is huge, and it's not stopping.
Let's also keep in mind that no one on the team, aside from Joe, has ever experienced an F5. And she only experienced it as a child.
Yeah, from the inside of a shelter.
They're all kind of relatively inexperienced now.
Yeah.
So we'll see how this goes.
Let's see how it goes for Jonas. So that dude. So basically, Jonas is like closer to it.
I think he was getting there first.
Yeah, and they actually get on the radio and start trying to tell him like, Bill's like, oh, this thing's about to turn. I think it's gonna turn. I think it's gonna turn. And they tell Jonas like, you need to get out of there. It's about to turn. And Jonas is just like, oh, you're trying to help me now, like.
Trying to trip us up.
Yeah, so Jonas is like, no, just keep going. And then they start trying to talk to the driver guy, just like they're like, listen to us, get out of there, turn around now.
Oh, feel bad for him.
Yeah, they end up getting hit by some sort of, I don't know how to explain it, some like metal thing, like a support for like a sign or something.
Mm.
That comes through the driver's side and totally kills that dude, and then the whole truck runs into something else and blows up and kills Jonas too. So
Most of the visual effects in the film were still pretty damn good, even to this day. But when Jonas's truck blows up, that shit looks super fake. Did you notice that
I,
too?
yeah, no, I think most of the explosions in it were not the best. They definitely focused on the tornadoes, which is fine.
That was their bread and butter.
Um, they're able to get one of the Dorothys off the truck. And
Yeah,
then,
they're trying to get Dorothy 3 to get sucked up into the tornado.
yeah, and then something comes and knocks it over, right?
Yeah, this one, man, this was also another shit show because you got like tree branches that, or not tree branches, tree trunks. It knocks over Dorothy 3 and they're like, fuck, are you serious? And then on top of that, before they could even get away, this other tree trunk comes and slams into the back of the truck and elevates it. So now the wheels can't even make contact with the
Oh,
road
yeah.
and they're sitting ducks.
So, yeah, so they're trying to drive away and they can't. But then eventually a nice semi comes and nudges them off of the tree so that they can drive away. That was dumb, too. They would have gotten flattened by that freaking thing.
Was this also where that a Dodge like tractors being tossed on the street?
Oh, no, I think that was the one before, but she's all like, left, right, left, as if he couldn't see what he was doing. I was like, shut up.
Yeah, there's a little goofier. So when you're watching it, I think it's like the third tractor that they dodge. Part of it smashes the corner of the windshield, but then when it cuts to the truck again, the windshield's fine.
Huh.
Straight up, there's like a pole or something that sticks out and it clips the corner of the windshield and smashes it.
Oh,
But it's
dang.
only for like a second.
Dang, I want to go back and watch that.
I was thinking, like, as I was watching this, I would say that the movie had a lot of moments that had potential to make the movie feel like a corny B movie. But I feel like the strong acting by Bill Paxton was able to maintain the quality and intensity throughout the film. It kind of made me wonder if, like, do you think that having a certain caliber of acting could be the deciding factor between solid movies and shitty movies?
Yeah. To an extent, yeah. I mean, I feel like maybe there's some that can't be saved, like that dumb volcano movie. But um, definitely having bad acting and or bad writing, yeah, or maybe bad directing. Because I mean, I feel like you can have great actors, but if you have a director that's not up to par, then that probably can't help the situation either. You know, it could potentially ruin a movie.
Like the director is not able to get the performances out of the actors or something?
Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I was just thinking, like, I wonder if crappy movies can be instantly elevated by great acting.
Or by Nicolas Cage, one of the two.
Nick Cage, huh? I was gonna say Leo DiCaprio, but even better. So now we have one Dorothy left, the last one. So they better get this right.
I don't realize when they come to the conclusion that they need to leave Dorothy strapped to the truck and just let the truck go.
I think that was before Dorothy 3 gets knocked over. They were looking at it and it was kind of getting dragged around.
Dragged, yeah.
That's when they realized it needs to be anchored down. It's like floating around too much.
Yeah. It's too light. The whole thing, the whole structure is too light.
It was kind of like an improvised plan. So they're in the truck, they're driving dead on into it, and instead of stopping in front of it, unloading Dorothy, and then driving away, let's just set cruise control, keep Dorothy in the bed, strapped to the truck, and the truck won't anchor it down long enough for it to be like well within inside the tornado, and then it will do its thing, right? And you know, it's like the triumphant music, the sensors are being sucked up into it, and it's like sending back all this kind of data. But the thing is, like, as they're jumping out of the bed, here's what I was telling Brenda: you got stalks of corn like beating against
I
the door,
know,
slamming it back into you. You're not gonna be able, you're gonna get knocked under the back wheels, you know, as you try to jump
right?
out.
At very least, you're getting your ass kicked by some corn.
He's just getting slapped in the face.
Right? So indeed, the truck is able to anchor Dorothy 4 down so that the tornado is able to pick up the sensors supposedly at the appropriate time.
Right.
And immediately the crew start getting readings and it's pretty cool and it's triumphant and it shows the little graphics of all the little sensors.
Mapping out the entire tornado. That's kind of cool.
Everything's just super awesome. Joe and Bill celebrate. It's just overall super fun.
Until it's not.
Until it's not.
That's short lived.
Yeah, because I guess it was going kind of sideways, but then all of a sudden it's coming towards them and like all the corn's getting ripped out, in their direction. And they're like, well, it's time to run.
Mm-hmm.
Oh goodness, does it get tense right here because they're running. They need to go through this fence and they're running and then they get in this barn and this barn is just freaking full of sharp weapons.
Of metal objects.
Metal knives, machetes, shears, like you name it. If it's metal and it's sharp, it is hanging in that freaking barn.
Time to get the fuck out of here.
I like in your notes you put Joe and Bill are not out of the weeds yet.
They're not out of the corn yet. That's how I should have
They're
phrased it.
definitely, I know they're not out of the corn yet. So the barn doesn't work out. They keep running and they end up, and I don't know what this is, like a water maintenance shack or something, but there's a
I thought
pipe.
it controlled their irrigation system for the farm or something like
Yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, irrigation shack. So the water pipe, and he's like, these pipes go at least 30 feet down, which I'm sure he just guessed through his intuition.
He's just that damn good. Like I said, he's extreme.
Very extreme. And he's like, we just need to, we just need to anchor ourselves to these. So they get some heavy duty leather straps, apparently, and they tie themselves super securely to these metal pipes. They hold on for dear life and get sucked up into the tornado with all kinds of debris flying, but miraculously all missing them.
This was cool though because you can imagine as they're trying to come up with a script to the story, they're like, we have to come up with a way where they can actually get safely sucked up into a tornado and survive it, so that way you can see what it looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, so then they end up, of course, the whole shack gets sucked up around them. They're like flying in the air, but they're holding onto the pipe for dear life. But then they get to see the inside of a tornado, inside of an F5 tornado, in which there is another little mini tornado. I wonder if there's any accuracy to this. I wonder if this. I don't know. I wonder.
Right. I never really thought about it until I was watching the movie, but I'm like, huh, what would the center of a tornado look like? I don't
I thought
even
it would
know.
just be a whole. You know how like in the day after tomorrow, they have like the eye of the hurricane, and it sucks in the super cool
Oh,
air from the upper.
the center. Yeah.
Yeah. All of a sudden, everything just clears out. I just kind of imagine it being like that, but
Yeah, I feel like this was almost an experience beyond their wildest dreams because they probably
yeah,
thought they would never ever get to see the inside of a tornado, much less experience the inside of a tornado.
yeah. But thankfully, before the other side of the tornado gets to them and threatens their lives again, the whole thing just dissipates.
Hmm. And just like that, the rest of the crew drive up.
They notice that they missed the house. And this goes back to they were having this discussion about how unpredictable tornadoes can be and how they can skip this house, go after this house, and go after this house, and then skip this house. What was it, Joe, that was saying like that? It seemed like they do this kind of on purpose, and
Yeah, she had like a grudge with tornadoes because she almost felt like it was unfair. How come it missed all of my neighbors, but then it got us? Like, why did it have to come after me and my family? It's like an obsession.
deep hatred and fascination.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And it's because she wanted to make sure no one else went through the same thing she did. So she wants to make sure that she can do her part to help create some sort of improved warning system.
Yeah, so, Joe's like, I'll leave the lab and you take care of the whatever it was. And Bill's like, no, 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 no. And you think he's going to be like, no, I'm not, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. But he's like, no, I'll leave the lab and you'll take care of the experiments or whatever.
So he's back. He's in.
Oh, he's fully in at this point. That was an experience that you can't just forget about.
And you can't just walk away from. So that's what it took. It took a whole F5 tornado to bring Bill back.
Yeah. Boy, did they get back to each other.
Oh, that's true. They finally reconcile with each other and the team celebrate. I think they're celebrating the fact that they survived an F5 tornado and the fact that Bill and Joe are back together.
Oh, and of course, Dorothy being successful.
Well, I guess that too. Who cares about that now at this
I
point?
guess.
Because Bill and Joe are back.
The extreme.
And that is a wrap on Twister. If you made it to the end of our podcast, then congratulations. You're now a battle tested storm chaser.
I could be down with that. I'm like, is that good or is that bad? But that's
It's extreme.
it's extreme.
Any final thoughts or closing comments?
Yeah. This takes me back to what I was like 9 when this movie came out and dating me. And I've always loved it and I never stopped loving it. And oh my gosh, I'm excited for Twisters. I think I'm gonna go watch the trailer for it again.
It's funny because we actually had this on our list and we knew we wanted to cover Twister at some point anyway. And I think this was actually one of the ones that we wrote down earliest when we were thinking about doing the podcast. I had no idea that they were going to be doing a sequel to this. So I was like, man, this is actually kind of cool, that we had Twister on our list and they're coming out with a long awaited sequel. And I hope it's good.
Yeah, I hope it's good too. I mean, honestly, as much as I love Twister, it wasn't like the best movie in the whole wide world. You know what I mean? I don't have super high hopes for the like quality of Twisters. Do I still want to watch it? Yes. Am I excited to see some awesome tornadoes? Yes. But from the trailer, it seems like it's either going to be like a lot of the same stuff rehashed, or
Mm.
if they're going to be trying to do something new, like it's going to be too extreme or like too over the top. Like if you're going to do something like this, I would rather it be more realistic or have it be so over the top that it just goes into like the realm of ridiculousness. Not like, sharks or something like that, but
Sharknado. And that's kind of how I felt with this movie. Like, there's some parts that haven't aged as well, but a lot of it was, I think it was definitely bringing back that nostalgia for me. And like I was saying before, this repopularized that disaster flick genre. After seeing the new trailer for Twisters, it kind of looks like they essentially recreated the Jonas character, but made him likable and possibly a love interest.
I could have sworn that I saw a bit in the trailer where they're like going into a garage pit
Really?
and like the roof is getting ripped off.
Have they learned nothing from the first movie?
I know.
You know what's actually kind of cool was after Bill Paxton's death in February 2017, hundreds of storm chasers paid tribute to him by using the Spotter Network geomarkers to spell out his initials BP.
Oh my gosh.
And this spanned from Texas, Kansas to Oklahoma.
Wow.
Having seen Twister, that inspired a lot of younger generations to become storm chasers themselves.
Wow. I don't feel like that's a career path that people should be going towards. Obviously, there's going to have to be somebody, but.
Yeah, perhaps a therapist. How about that?
Oh, yeah. A sex therapist.
I don't know if you knew this, but there's actually a small dedicated Twister museum in Wauketa, Oklahoma. It's kind of like a little small hole in the wall museum, but yeah, there's a museum there and it has a bunch of props and stuff from Twister.
If I ever find myself in Oklahoma, I guess I'll go check that attraction out because it's probably the only thing to do in Oklahoma anyway.
Maybe, yeah. Really quick before we go, are you watching anything lately? Film or TV?
I am actually watching. We watched recently this movie called The Ritual, which is about like a group of British dudes that go on a hike and find themselves in a world of trouble in the woods in Switzerland or whatever.
The Ritual, okay.
Yeah, so that was interesting.
That's pretty good.
I enjoyed it. We watched Wonka recently. That was actually pretty dang good.
Yeah, it was better than I expected.
Yeah, I had heard a couple of negative things about it. So when I watched it, I was like, no, I'm enjoying this. Like, I don't know what people are talking about. And Andrew said that he heard a lot of good things, but I heard less good things, I guess.
I guess my thing about it was that after the Johnny Depp version, I was just like, I don't know if this really needs to be revisited.
The Johnny Depp version was a remake of the original. It wasn't a sequel or prequel or anything like that.
Right.
It was just a retelling, and this was a full on prequel. So
It's starting to get into that realm of like over explaining. Like, I think that takes away from the mystique of Willy Wonka. I like the fact that he's so mysterious that you don't even really quite understand who he is or what he's about. He's kind of creepy at times.
it's definitely. Um, I actually liked it, and I really liked. Was it Timothy Chalamet?
Yeah.
I liked him as
I think
Wonka.
he's a good actor.
He is. He's pretty good. Check that out. The one other thing I'm watching is it's not definitely not new, but I'm watching a show on Netflix called Heartbreak High. So if you're into high school drama, so that's a show.
Brenda and I saw Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
How was that? We've been wanting to see it.
Pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. I
Nice.
think it was even better than Afterlife, and I thought
Yeah,
Afterlife was pretty damn good.
yeah, I know. I actually heard that this is the best Ghostbusters movie ever.
I think I might like it better than the original. I
Hey,
don't know. I was just never really a huge Ghostbusters fan, but I like the
yeah,
direction that they're going with it, and I like the cast that they chose for this movie or for
I
these
agree.
movies.
Yeah, it's a lot of people of many different generations. Then you have the young kids. You have like Paul Rudd, right?
And you have the vets, but it's just like a lot of the references and just like homages back to the original, and I thought they did a great job with it.
That's good.
The show is available wherever you get your podcasts. New episodes drop on the first Saturday of each month, 5 a.m. Pacific. If you like what you heard, give us a like, a thumbs up, and a subscribe. Greatly appreciated. Thank you for listening and joining Steph and I. This has been Aflixionados Podcast, episode 39, Twister, and we'll see you all next time.
Woo! I just realized that you changed your name to My name is Jonas. But then like the baby gigs. Don't eat while you're giggling. Like the mouth will hit open.
Still trying to feed herself while she's laughing.
Okay, mommy.
I'm okay, baby. Thank you.
I'm okay.
Too much excitement.